just want to make a quick haskalah, then we'll do the Mazel Tov on the Tzidkas Hatzadik, which we're going to begin. The Tzidkas Hatzadik is a gesher between Chassidus and what you call the Litvische stuff. Because the Reb Tzadok Hakohen, with a very interesting history, which we'll speak about, but I don't want to speak about right now, was a Nechet Hagra, and was a Baki B'Teres Hagra. He was a huge Ilui. You know the Reb Tzadok Hakohen. So at his bar mitzvah, they gave out a Shilos and Tshuva sefer that he wrote. Meishav Dover, he wrote when he was 13. And that's what they gave out as bar mitzvah, which Gedolim learned today. He said later, at the end of his life, he says, I stand by that. It wasn't just bar mitzvah, Shilos and Tshuvas in the anonymous months. He was a tremendous guy, and he knew the Torah's Hagra, and then he came to Lublin, and he learned with the Izbitcher Rebbe, and he was Makabel, the Torah's HaChasidus, and he blended them in a way that everybody's comfortable. Like sometimes you look at Hasidic Sfarim, it's a little bit out there if you don't know what you're doing. And you look at the Gra, it's a little bit in there, and if you don't know what you're doing, like, you don't even know what to do with it. So this is Mekasher, the two limudim in a brilliant way. And the Tzidkas Hatzadik in particular is the notes that he took when he first came to Lublin. I think he wrote them a year after he came to Lublin. He wrote notes of the things, the chidushim that he learned from from his friend, Rabbi Akiva Eger's grandson, Reb Leibel Eger, who also became a chassid. The chassidim like to boast that the Rabbi Akiva Eger's grandson became a chassid, so they don't call him Reb Leibel Eger. The chassidim call it Akiva Shleima's label. They get the whole thing in there. Akiva, I can't even say it like that. But they get into every time they mention him that, oh, you mean, yeah, Rabbi Akiva Eger's grandson from his son, Reb Shlomo Eger. But he was a chassid of Lublin, a chassid of Izbitz, and Reb Tzadok wrote down what he learned from him and from the Rebbe and the Siva during that first year. That's the Tzidkas Hatzadik. And by the way, it seems kind of random, like little pieces. It's not random at all, as we'll learn. Everything is connected one thing to the other. And you really have to learn. I've learned you have to learn the whole Sefer before you can learn even Sifkat and Aleph. And Mir Hashem, we'll do that together. Chaim spoke about Kolas Cholis Kashes. So the first 34 sifim of the Tzidkas Hatzadik are on the first four blot of brachos, as it is. But he starts, the first thing that he says, just 3 lines, but I've been learning these 3 lines now in preparation for you for about a month. So, but this is what he says. He says, Reishis knisas ha'adam la'avodas Hashem tzarech liyesh b'chipazon. That when a person starts a project in avodas Hashem, it has to be a chipazon. Chipazon like when we went out of Mitzrayim. 1, 2, 3, quick, right? Chipazon's a rush, tumult. Everything about Pesach Mitzrayim, even though we're there for a couple hundred years. So, but when it came time to going, it was a rush. Like, V'loi Pesach Dairis, but that wasn't the case in all the Korban Pesachs that we brought all the way throughout history. And the answer, he says, the pshat is that L'natek atzmei mikol taivas olam hazeh shu mekusher behem tzarich lishmar harega shemisoyer by ratzon Hashem v'lachbois al oisei rega l'mayer lotzeis mem ula yuchal. Because when you first get a hisoyrus of avodas Hashem, you got to move fast. So this is the real pshat in the first day of the Zman. There's a special hisoyrus that's coming from Shemayim. And then comes Pesach Doris. You have to keep on, just to Malka, just tell you a story that I probably said here before. You got to live with that. Years ago when I first got married, so I lived on Rehov Mana Simcha Romema, right next to Mattersdorf. And, yeah, very good, thank you. Talmidim. So there, Al Korchi, I had a kesher with my non-religious neighbors, And started to learn with them, started to talk with them. It was a survival thing. I wasn't a Kiruv guy. It wasn't what I was doing. But I started to learn with them and talk with them. And by the way, P.S., 45 years or whatever it is, 40 years, 45, how many? They're all from. From this whole block of Chiloni neighbors are from. One's a Rosh Kolo. I think he's from. he's a Rosh Kolo, anyways, in Kiryat Sefer. So, anyways, that guy, that Rosh Kolo. So, at the time, he was a balash for the police department, like a plainclothesman, a private detective for the police department. That's what he did. A young guy, just straight out of the tzava, and he got this job. And we're learning for a number of weeks, and we're talking about Hashem created the world and all kinds of, important yesodis. And he said that he wants to put on tefillin. He wants to wear tefillin. He wants to buy tefillin. He doesn't have tefillin. So I said, tefillin, like you can borrow my tefillin, put on tefillin. He said, no, I want to buy a pair of tefillin. So I said, okay, tefillin cost at that time. So it was $150 or, whatever the equivalent of it at that time. So I said, it's a lot of money. So he said, I want the best tefillin, the best the money can buy. So I said, how are you going to buy the best? Do you have money? So he said, I'm going to sell my car. Now, you don't realize for an Israeli at that time, to sell his car, that was like his chiyus. That was life. He spent all Saturday morning washing this car. Now you're going to sell the car and buy a pair of tefillin. So I was against Keneged. Everybody knows who works with Bali Tshuva knows that, tell people stop doing mitzvahs, you're going too fast, you don't have to do this, right, buy a cheap pair of tefillin later on, you buy a better pair of tefillin, So I'm arguing with him, and he's arguing with me, this is the machlokes, don't buy tefillin, yes, buy tefillin, yes, buy tefillin. I was against. So then he says to me, you have a Rav, not as a few doors away, who's supposed to be a big Rav, so let's ask him, we'll go, din Torah, who's right, I should buy expensive tefillin, sell my car, or buy cheap tefillin. So I said, okay, let's do that. So we went up to the Rav Scheinberg, Tzidkas Hatzadik Levracha, and he was sitting on his porch with all his tzitzis and his tefillin, and presented the question in Hebrew. So I say in Hebrew because that wasn't so Rav Scheinberg listens to them, and he says, Bevadai timkor et harechev. Bevadai. What's the question? Sell the darn car, of course, buy tefillin, beautiful tefillin, so much more important than a rechev. And I'm like, doesn't he understand this, know anything about anything people? So I argued and I said, Rebbe, maybe it's fast and, you don't run, you don't jump up the rungs of the ladder because, you miss a step and then you fall down and, people do this and then they have charata and blah, blah, blah. So he's like this, he waved his hand, he says, Shtusim. He says, and he told me, you have to know that when a person begins a project in Ruchnius, there's a tremendous or that's coming from the Shemayim at that moment. And you have to chop that or. Don't worry about missing rungs on the ladder. That's later you worry about that. You have to chop the or. You have to take as much of that or you can and incorporate it into your life because it's the only time that you're getting at the beginning is at the beginning. And otherwise you have to make a whole new haskalah and hope for the or. And I think that's a story that guided my life. It guided my life in learning with people and talking with people. Like when you see that or, and you always do, by the way, when you see that or chadash coming, grab it, use it, incorporate it, fan it so it becomes even a bigger or. More mugzam. More mugzam. It's good. You're on the madrega at the beginning. Then comes, you got to move fast. Then comes Pesach Doros. Pesach Doros is, okay, now you've got the or, little by little, rung by rung of the ladder, you'll climb up, you'll get it, you'll learn this, you'll learn that, you'll be medaktik in mitzvahs. That's now you're working up to the or that you originally created. At the end of the day, Chazal say that a person has to feel at the Seder, has to feel like he's mamish being Yotzei Yetzias Mitzrayim. So how Yotzei Yetzias Mitzrayim? So the answer is, by going through all of the Avodah, Korban Pesach and Beis HaMikdash and what we do on Pesach, before Pesach, during Pesach, everything till we get to the Seder, the matzahs, the Pesach matzah maror, then we finally get to the Or Elyon of Chipazai. And some of us fall asleep by that time. So here's the first Yesod of the Tzidkas Hatzadik, and Mir Hashem, we should be Zocher to finish the Sefer and to be Hadron on the Nefesh HaChaim, go through many, many Svarim together, and I wish you all Mazel Tov and Arichas Yomim. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.